Yeah, I will say in terms of skills, really that there are so many. But when I think about doing the work of internal audit and looking at assurance, the key thing is critical thinking. So when you're going into an audit, how do you determine what to even audit? How do you do the testing approach? What kind of benchmark are you setting yourself up against? And then once you collected all of those information, how do you apply judgments to the facts to arrive to your testing conclusion and eventually your auditing conclusion? But then pairing along with some of these skills will be, well, one, communication. So how do you build relationship with your clients or your auditees to be able to get the relevant information, but also how do you build up an argument of if whether or not you think there's a potential issue or if the control is working effectively. How do you actually communicate all of that, whether that's internal or to your auditees? And since I'm from data analytics and insights, I definitely want to throw a plug out there for data tools. I still remember when I was going through the undergrad program, taking the IT courses and learning all about those relationships and between databases, like your unique keys, how data is joined together. And I think a lot of that became the foundation to my path at TD and eventually moving into a bit more of an analytics space. So I would say in general, getting yourself familiar with data tools and as well as just productivity tools. So even if you're going through about your classes, your own schedules, how do you leverage technology and incorporate it into your daily life and really start to make that a habit? Because with the trends that's happening across the industry, everyone's moving towards a more digitized space. So being comfortable with that. And then in terms of some of the data tools, I would say just fundamentally knowing things about becoming comfortable with spreadsheets, at least as a way to start. But then if you do find yourself interested in that space, moving on to working with different programming languages, and all of that can maybe develop during your career and on the job.
I like that, Alice. I think you touched on a lot of the really good skills that Waterloo actually as a world-class institution gives. But for me, you talked about relationships and communication, and I'm big on the soft skill type of thing, because I think whatever way you want to call it, relationship management skills, networking, etc. I think it's important, not just for life, but as internal auditors. To Alice's point, there's times when you have to deliver bad news. You have to deliver how their finding or the exception that you're raising is a critical one or really bad. And how do you say that, in the best way possible, sticking to the facts, but also reaching out to them and saying, this is why we're here to help, right? Because I think those are the types of things that you do need to learn and practice over time. I think it's rest assured, Waterloo will give us all the tools. It's a world-class institution. You'll learn all your technical skills and your hard skills, but don't forget about that aspect, because that also takes time and practice. So.
And I think I would echo what Margarita said, so from a soft skills perspective, because communication is really key. And then the other thing, just to add on, would be analytical skills. I think it's really important, for an internal auditor to be aware of what's going on around the world. Like for instance, for things that I'm looking at, rising interest rates, for instance, how do they impact the bank, right? From a commercial banking perspective, right? A lot of gas price, high gas price, inflation, things like that, supply chain. What is it impacting the automotive industry, and how do we, what is the risk and controls associated with that? So I think, if you put, the two and two together, right, like just be general curiosity around what's happening in the world, and then think about, okay, what does it mean for the company, right? How does it apply to the business that I'm auditing? I think that generally gives you a lot of good conversation that you can have with the business. And then to Margarita's point, right, then how do you take that and have a meaningful conversation with the business? And sometimes that could become a finding, right? And then how do you use that communication skills that we all learn from Waterloo and apply that?
Well, I mean, because, you know,
Yeah, so I think for me, I'll give my perspective and please feel free to chime in, right? I think for sure, compared to external auditors, I think we are still perceived better. I think because naturally, as everybody knows, internal audit is your third line of defense, so we are still independent, so to speak, of the business, right? And so there is a natural inclination for our clients or our business or our auditees, however we want to call it, to be a little guarded when we speak to them. Right. I will say though, in my time, and Phil, you've been here as well for a while at TD, it's evolved. I think really, getting the businesses, getting our clients, the first and second line, to understand that we're here to help. We're almost kind of like gatekeepers for our external auditors, because we do let them know, hey, this is something you need to improve when it comes to your controls, right? Their relationship has gotten better for sure. I think that's also part and parcel to, how TD's culture has been as well, but also kind of how we also deliver the news and the communication. And I think which is why it's really important that we continue kind of putting that message forward, right, and bringing that home and driving that home, that internal audit is here to help. We see things from different lenses, yes, but we are here because at the end of the day, we are still working for that organization. We're not external to the organization, so.